What is going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 24. The easy answer would be the Sean Springs episode, but that's too easy. So we're gonna go with the Roger Harper episode.
Okay. All right. I don't even know who that is.
Early 90s. Obviously I could always go with our boy Sean Wade.
Yeah.
Tyson Gentry,
Yep.
he wore a different number for more than one season, so
yeah,
kind of excluded him. Could also go with Maurice Lee of
Yeah.
the Marion Mayhem.
You could go with Maurice Lee.
So there's some numbers out there. As always, I am Jeremy the Couch Pit. On the opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. What is going on, sir? How was your busy weekend?
Oh man, busy is the correct word. Saturday CrossFit competition. I died twice. You can ask our buddy Tyler about that. I was ready to pack it up and go home, man. I was ready to pack it up and get the heck out of there. We got about halfway through the workout, and I looked at the guys like, listen, I've been training pretty hard for this, but I got nothing in the tank. And they both looked at me like, well, you're not letting us down and quitting. So powered through. We made it through, and they were great teammates. But, man, it was brutal. My wife and I were struggling today walking around.
Did the wives beat you guys?
So, technically, yes, they did. But they could run for days, man. We're just not on that. I'm just not on that level yet. I was holding the team back when it came to the cardio. But yeah, it was a busy weekend. Had our 1-year-old's birthday party today, and so crazy to think that she's 1 year old. Like nuts. Time goes by really fast. Obviously, you got a kid in college now, and so yeah, man. But it was all right, man. How was your weekend?
It was good. We actually went over to school on Friday night. He had to go pick up some balls that he had drilled. Ended up bowling a little sweeper over there and made the step ladder. So we didn't get home till about 1:32 in the morning. Yesterday morning. And then, just a low-key busy weekend, though. I had dinner with some buddies last night, that type of stuff. And then Jake was in Columbus all weekend. There's a huge youth bowling tournament. So he got to go visit with some friends that he hasn't seen from all over the country.
Okay.
His girlfriend, Emma, in one of the blocks of 5 games, I jokingly told her she came to whoop ass and drink Pepsi, and they ran out of Pepsi. She won the block by 92 pens. So,
okay.
She had a good morning there. So, yeah, all good on that front,
Good, man. Good.
Sure. Busy, we talked about this weekend that just wrapped up a lot last episode. So we weren't the only ones with busy weekends. The Buckeyes had a massive recruiting weekend, but before the weekend started, we talked about this kid a lot in the last 2 weeks, and Bodfin Miller from Ontario commits.
Yeah.
Like I've said, I don't know what it is that has made me embrace this kid as my favorite in the class. I don't know if it's the local aspect. Very humble, very well spoken.
Yeah.
We talked about it. The kid bet on himself.
Yeah.
And he went out again, got the offer. Pleasant, a local school, they got to see him up close and personal at 7-on-7 this week at OSU. And it's real. So that kind of started off the weekend shenanigans. And then another kid that I know you love, Jake Cook, got his offer and committed today. Made that official. He was on an official this weekend. Took in the Zach Bryan concert last night, so I'm sure that helps, set the tone. The only thing that would have been better is if he would have had Farmer Gronk there to go with him. I feel like that would have been a cased over experience.
Yeah.
What do you feel? Obviously we've talked about these guys a lot, but with them both being Ohio boys, it's awesome to see, those kids that are going to come in and have some swagger and have something to prove.
Absolutely. And we've talked about it a lot on here, obviously, but I'm going to advocate for those kids who show up to those camps and give everything they have to earn that offer. You know what I mean? To hear these kids talk about how much of a dream it was to always be a Buckeye, like those are the guys you want. Those are the guys that are going to understand the rivalry. Those are the guys that are going to come in, and no matter what, if they got to wait 2, 3, 4 years to play, they're going to stick around. They're going to grind, and they're going to make sure that they leave Ohio State, leaving their mark on Ohio State. And so I'm excited for him. I think the BP Miller kid from Ontario has untapped potential, and to go to camp and to catch the eyes of Brian Hartline and give them no choice but to offer you. And shout out to Devin Jordan for really pushing Coach Hartline to make that offer. That speaks volumes to me. You look at the competition in the MOAC, okay, some people will bring that up. But the thing is, if you're playing that competition, did you dominate? And this is a dominant player who's just playing quarterback because he's the best athlete on the team. And so I think Ohio State got a real, diamond in the rough. He's very raw. It's got some things that he's got to work on, route running rides. But as far as like all the intangibles to be elite, like he's got them. I mean, when you're running, 22 miles an hour, that says something. When you're finishing in the top, 8 in the state of Ohio in Division II for track, that says something. You've got some real speed. And so I'm excited about him. And Jake Cook is another kid that I'm just happy for. I'm just happy for this kid. He came to camp. He worked himself, until he puked everywhere. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. And then for him to be rewarded for that hard work, like those are the things that you, as a athlete, those are the things that you work towards. And so, you're going to get a guy who's going to come in and give everything he has to be, a great Buckeye. And he's a mauler. I mean, he's a little bit of a throwback. He's a guy that's going to be he plays tackle, but he for Westerville North, but he will be a center or a guard for Ohio State. And I know Coach Jackson down there has talked about possibly moving him around in some different spots to kind of showcase his ability. But he's your old school traditional mauler. He's a meathead. That's what I call those guys, man. They're meatheads. They're going to go out there. They're going to bring their lunch pail and their hard hat, and they're going to do whatever it takes to make sure that you can get 4 yards of carry and that the quarterback is protected. And so I love the fact that the Buckeyes understand now that the way the recruiting is going to work. I think, these are the kids that you have to find a way to get in your class. And you made mention to it before we got on the air today, the 26 class is loaded. And so if I'm thinking ahead, and I know, like you said, we don't talk about 26 that much, but we will today a little bit. If you're thinking ahead, you want those 26ers to see, oh, they're betting on Ohio kids. They're not worried about the star rating. They're going to get these Ohio kids, and they want them in the class. So now you're starting to lay that foundation, not just for this year, but for the future. And Ohio's 26 class, as we'll talk about later, is very, 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 very talented. And so I love what the Buckeyes are doing, man, and I'm glad they got these two guys in the class.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the one thing, like you hit on with the MOAC competition for Miller. Miller's never played wide receiver in the MOAC, though. He's running by dudes and he's juking guys when he's running the ball as a quarterback. But, we'll use the Pleasant 7-on-7 example. I talked to multiple people, from the Pleasant program, parents, coach. And the word used was he cooked our corner on the first play of the game. And that corner was 5'6".
Yeah.
Now, that's what he should be doing against a kid who was 5'6" in the MOAC. So he's doing it in the reps that he's getting. But lost in this is he goes to camp, and he earned that offer against guys Ohio State wanted to look at.
Absolutely.
So, there are still some Buckeye fans who are questioning the offer. As we've stated before, if there's a year that you can go lax, quote unquote, in wide receiver recruiting, it's this year.
Yeah.
We've talked about the big fish, and it sounds like, the big fish may go elsewhere, and that's fine. Vernell Brown is going to be a tough pull out of Florida. He's a legacy.
Yeah.
It sounds like Jamie French is smitten with Lamborghinis. great. That's cool. The kid is a stud. But, French and Moore, it sounds like, are expecting Ohio State to give them the J.J. Smith treatment. And it's not going to happen. Not this year.
No.
Because you have Jeremiah, and then next year, assuming his commitment sticks, and I don't have any reason to think it won't, you're going to have Chris Henry.
Yeah.
So, in between those two, now you have Quincy Porter. You potentially have the Phillip Bell. We're bringing in guys who are they're different, but they're the same because they're the size that's coming into this wide receiver room is insane.
Yeah.
You've got multiple guys over 6 foot tall. You're running guys in the slot that are going to be over 6 foot tall. That's like Garrett Wilson-esque in the slot match, mismatches.
Yeah.
So that is one thing there. You hit on something with the Ohio kids and being hungry. So I guess that'll be a good spot to go. New offer went out yesterday.
Yeah.
Preston Bowman.
Yeah.
Pick North?
Yeah, it goes to Pick North.
3-star kid, verbal to Kentucky right now.
Yeah.
We've already got Vince Marlowe talking his trash about Ohio State offering him.
Of course.
You basically made a comment about because it said that the kid is solid to his verbal to Kentucky. He's like, smart kid. These kids know this new rule's coming about walk. So are you saying that the kid's getting a walk-on offer at Ohio State about a guy that you were stoked to get?
Yeah.
So that's another offer that a lot of people are going to question. Are you not going to get a French or a Moore? At this point, I don't know. I don't think so. I've said before, I thought there was a good chance of Moore, but I think as you start to read the tea leaves, I think you may end up with a 5-receiver class. But your two big guys will be Quincy Porter and Phillip Bell.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah, listen, I think I'm a big fan of Preston Bowman, and I've got some clips here we can show. But I'm a big fan of this kid. He is the real deal. And for those of us who may not understand how this recruiting stuff is going to really change, these are the guys, like we said last week, these are the guys that we're going to have to be able to work to get into this class, not in just this class, but in future classes, because people, like you mentioned so many times, are going to want that JJ Smith treatment, and it's just not going to always happen. You've got to be that generational freak of nature like JJ Smith is, like a Chris Henry Jr. is. Like, those are the guys that you are willing to do almost whatever it takes to get them on campus. And then you have to flood your roster with guys who are going to be those workhorses that are going to come in and be a Chris Olave type, who's going to come in very underrated, but his freshman year may make an impact, or his junior year may make a major impact. And so I've got some clips of Preston Bowman. The one thing I love about this kid is, man, he is physical. He plays the wide receiver position like he is a freaking running back. I mean, he is an extremely physical player. So I'll get these pulled up really quick. Plays at Pick North. He's around 6'1", around 180 pounds, maybe a little bit thicker than that. And you can see right there just the size of the kid. He is built like your traditional running back or safety. I mean, this is a guy who is not afraid of work in the weight room. But he's a good player, and Pick North, did a good job of really utilizing him. He's a very physical runner. He's got good speed. You see right here, first play of this game, like he takes it to the crib off of a really quick slant/screen. And so this kid is he's a stud. He's a very, 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 very physical player, and I can't stress that enough. The other thing I love about him too, he can do that on a regular basis, regardless of his height. He can go get it. And so this is a kid that I think could be, another diamond in the rough in this class, and with some really fine tuning on his route running and things like that. I know he works with a really good wide receiver trainer personally. And so I think this is a kid that's going to go out and work. And the other thing, he's got good offers. It's not like he's some slouch, Kentucky just pulled who many believe is the best running back in the state of Ohio. And so they are trying to get some very good talent. This is a very talented kid. This is a good pickup for Kentucky. And so if the Buckeyes are able to reel him in and get him to, fall out of that commitment to Kentucky, I think he'll be a good addition to the class. So this is a kid I will root for all the time. You see, he's got pretty good top end speed. The head coach at Finley just did a 7-on-7 scrimmage with them a couple weeks ago, and he was so impressed with this kid. Look at that. I mean, that was just ridiculous. A catch on a punt. And this is my favorite part, and I'll stop it right here. Plays defense. All right. He's a hitter. Like, he is a hitter. He's not afraid of violence. And so you cannot ask for much more, in my opinion, for somebody who's going to come in and be that scrapper for you on offense as a receiver. And so this is a kid I think has, tremendous potential, and hopefully it works out. Buckeye fans, like we've said a million times, just trust Coach Hartline, man. He's never given us a reason to not trust him. You know who this guy, he gives me a lot of KJ Hill vibes. And
yeah, I can see that.
The way he's built, I think he'll be, he's got inside outside versatility, but I think he could be really good in the slot. I know we already have somebody in the slot with what's his name from New Jersey, Des Jones. But I think this is a guy who's going to have that inside outside versatility. He's got good hands. He's physical. He's not afraid. He's not going to run from contact. And KJ Hill was very similar to that. And so I love this kid. I think he's good. You'll hear me root for the kids in Ohio all day long.
Yeah, I like we've said, you have to, in today's day and age, yes, getting the 4 and 5 star studs nationally is a must, but you have to get guys who you may be able to mold to where, you bring in a room of nothing but 4 and 5 stars. And we kind of saw it with like the 22 guys.
Exactly.
You start losing guys in the portal because they come in and say, I should be starting immediately. And in today's NIL day and age, and this is not a knock on the kid, but a Bowman is not going to cost you as much as a Jamie French.
Nope.
When you've already got, yes, you have money tied up. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I would assume if they're given an offer this late in the game, it's committable. I don't think it would be a non-committable offer.
For sure.
And for anybody that doesn't understand that lingo, there are times offers are given as an optic. It may be a situation where you throw the kid the offer to start building the relationship as a backup plan, or, a fallback, or, you see kids, and I think you're going to see this with BP Miller. He is going to get a bump in the rankings because Ohio State offered him. Because he's a receiver. It's just like an offensive lineman that Alabama offers. It's going to get a bump because he's an O lineman and Bama offered him. So the kid's obviously not a bad ball player. So another Ohio kid that, we kind of checks all those boxes. Sounds like Brody Lennon, tight end from Cincy we've talked about, is probably going to commit this week. So obviously that'll be something to talk about when it happens. We talked about, he's a physical cat too. That's the one trend with all these guys that are these, and I don't even want to say projects because these guys all had great offers.
Yes.
You look at Jake Cook going to Louisville. Louisville is not a terrible program. Like I was doing some work last night for our pickle that we're going to do. I was going ahead and scouting out games. And you start looking through the list of games, and it's hard to find a week where Louisville may not be in one of the 10 best games.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the other thing too, man. Like I know we're Ohio State and we look at that as we're one of the top 3 programs in the country, top 5 program. But that doesn't mean that these other Power 5 schools are not solid programs. Are they at the same elite level or standard as Ohio State? No. All right. But if a kid gets an offer from the Virginia Techs or the Louisvilles or whatever. They're good players, And a side note on Preston Bowman and the way things work at Ohio State camps and all these big school camps. Preston Bowman has camped at Ohio State, I believe they said 3 times this summer. All right. So he's been recruited by Ohio State. There are clips of him at practice and at games wearing Ohio State gloves. Like,
Right.
this is a kid that Coach Hartline, Devin Jordan are very, very familiar with, that they have been recruiting. And so they know what he can do. And they would not have sent this offer if they didn't think he was an Ohio State level player.
Exactly.
BP Miller with the same exact thing. The one thing about these camps, if you are identified as somebody that there is like an elite trait that the coaches want to see one-on-one, they pull you aside or they pull you into a special group of guys that Ohio State is interested in. And they have you compete against the other interested guys that Ohio State is looking at, and they want to see what you can do. And so at those camps, they're pulling the Preston Bowmans, they're pulling the Jake Cooks, they're pulling the BP Millers and putting them against the best defensive backs that are there. Whether they're a class of 25, 26, 27, that doesn't matter. They want to see what they can do against elite talent. And that is the one thing that we can never lose sight of. These kids aren't just going to like a traditional camp. They're going to these camps to be recruited by Ohio State. That is the only reason a Preston Bowman goes to Ohio State. He's not just going because it's in his backyard. He's going because he wants an offer from Ohio State. And another side note on him, a few weeks ago, he went up to the team up north and he won the MVP of their camp. And so, like, he does some great things, BP Miller, all those guys. And so we cannot lose sight of that. I get it. We want these big guys. We want 5-star, 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 which is great. But these kids are good players. And I think we just need to give them time, and then we need to trust, the coaches. I know we are in a win now mode, and I get that. But, we need to be in a position also that we're still building something towards the future. And so I think, these guys that we have offered, the Brody Lennons, the Jake Cooks, I love it. I absolutely love it. I wish they would have offered Preston Bowman earlier. That's my only issue. I wish they would have offered him earlier. I feel very good about their standing with him. I'm sure that they were recruiting him and letting him know and being transparent about things up front. Maybe that's me being naive, but I just feel like that's the type of person, Coach Jordan and Coach Hartline are. They're not going to sugarcoat things. They're going to let you know we're going after, what is perceived as the top dogs, but we're still going to recruit you. And so, again, trust them. They've never given us a reason not to trust them. And just because they're not 5-stars doesn't mean they can't be a group like a Terry McLaurin, like a KJ Hill, like a Paris Campbell. All these guys came together as 3- and 4-star players and were really good for us. And so there's nothing to say that this won't happen with this group as well.
Well, like you look at Olave. Olave was a 3-star.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's arguably one of the best to come through the program.
Yeah.
Another guy that a lot of people sleep on was the 123rd ranked wide receiver in his class. And actually had to go to prep school for a year, and that's Michael Thomas.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yes, stars matter, but attitude and hustle matter too.
Yep.
Like Michael Thomas is he's one of those dudes that is scary, cerebral. Buddy of mine, to go on a little sidebar about Michael Thomas and that type of guy, when I say, hustle and grit and that type of thing, buddy of mine ran an autograph signing with a bunch of guys after they graduated, public autograph signing, the Akron Canton area, massive turnout, coming through the door. That was the year, that you had Zeke and Taylor Decker and all of those guys. And well, most guys, when they do a signing, will bring, either somebody to count tickets or, so that they can just do their thing. Michael Thomas didn't bring anybody with him. And at the end of the signing, he walks up to my buddy, and I forget the exact number, but my buddy walks up to square up with him. And Michael looks at him and goes, "What I do about, we'll say 400. And my buddy goes, "You were at 403. So he was within 3, keeping track in his head of how many autographs he signed.
Wow.
So
That's
that's a
crazy.
sidebar. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this weekend is done now. We're getting ready to hit a dead period. So visits will be, non-existent. But just some of the stuff that's coming out real quick, and this is just within the last 5 hours. So obviously things change. Sounds like Dorian Brew is trending in the right direction. He doesn't have a commitment date set, but that could happen, whenever. Trey McNutt was at Oregon this weekend. Definitely something to monitor.
Yeah.
Interesting potential development in the running back recruiting. Jordan Davidson. Sounds like that recruitment's about to get real interesting.
Yeah.
Sounds like there is potential NIL driven factors there.
Okay.
You see it so many times. You get to this point in the game, and the uncle comes out of nowhere, or whoever. But also sounds like my man came to campus and might have been a little thick.
Yeah.
Which, that it's out of season, and a kid that age could definitely deal with that, pretty quickly. But where things are looking surprisingly positive, the Alabama Bowl. Zion Grady has actually gotten the Fong bomb today,
which is a big deal.
That's a massive deal.
Yeah.
And honestly, I would take the trade-off of Jordan Davison for Zion, just based out of need for one.
Yeah.
But the other caveat to Zion is, it's long been said that him and Malik Autry are a package deal.
Yeah.
Do I believe that? Package deals never work out, so I'm not going to assume anything.
Yeah.
But now, I can't think of which insider came. It might have been Alex Blackman said that unless Grady would commit this week, he would still be apprehensive. But anytime you're dealing with a kid from the South, that's just the way it works.
Yeah.
And then where Grady becomes even more important is sounds like there may be some concern / developments on the Zahir Mathis front.
Yeah.
Visited Penn State this weekend, but all of the insiders are saying that OSU is not letting him take an official right now because there's some things not in order.
Yeah.
So that's where, some of these other guys are coming for. And the other caveat to defensive line recruiting in the 25 class is if Jakeem Stewart reclassifies.
Oh, it's official?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But if he does, then obviously, OSU is going to full court press him.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to track that stuff through the week. I think Brody Lennon pops this week. I think there's some smoke out there that Grady Brew, one of them, may pop this week.
Okay.
I'm not a coffee drinker, but give me Dorian Brew all day long. So also with the slow time coming as far as for visits, it picks up for commitments.
Yeah.
Trajan Odom, we talked about him, interior D lineman. He's actually announcing this week. The people that monitor his recruitment closest still have him verbally to OSU. So that'll be interesting to see. July 3rd, your boy Justin Hill.
Fingers crossed.
Sounds
Please.
like, again, trending good there.
Yeah.
August 3rd, Marion Dye. That recruitment's been, there's not a crystal ball in. But a lot of people have him in the OSU class. I mean, he's an Elkhorn, Indiana kid. So, right now the class is very skill position heavy. It looks like that's about to change. Obviously, if David Sanders wants to give us the best present ever and commit,
Yeah.
that'd be great too.
Yeah.
Get into the back end of August, Damian Shanklin. I think he ends up at LSU. And then Jamie French on the 30th. I think he's coming to Texas. I just think there's too much there. One real quick thing. I know you've been busy this weekend, so I don't know if you've got to see a lot of this. Nationally, recruiting-wise, Alabama is on the rise.
Yeah.
They're about to get every offensive lineman not named David Sanders in the top 5, I think.
Yeah.
Along with that, our boy Lincoln Riley and USC are getting decommitment after decommitment on the defensive side of the ball.
I know. It's just crazy to me. It's crazy to me to see a program like a USC, and those things happen. Obviously, we know about decommitments. We've seen them. We've had them in just this class last year as well. So those things happen. I get that. But it's just the timing of their decommitments makes me wonder about some other things. And so, I mean, it's just a tough time, man. It's a tough time to recruit with NIL and trying to pull kids and get them out of certain regions. And, they want promises. They want this. And so it's definitely a tough time, but it all will be good if we end up with David Sanders. That's all that matters.
I mean, as far as the USC thing is, I understand you're in LA.
Yeah.
But, when you come to Columbus, you are the show. Ohio State, and honestly, outside of Metro Cleveland and Metro Cincy, Ohio State's really the predominant brand in the state.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to rival the Browns and the Bengals, even though.
Yeah, absolutely. Toledo's a little different.
You're split, yeah.
You're split.
Which, I mean, Michigan can have Toledo.
Yeah.
But then, in LA, USC's an afterthought. And I've seen pictures from visits out there. Their facilities are a dump.
Yeah.
So this just popped out. Our boy Berm says that as far as on Zion Grady, I think it would be an upset if we picked a school other than Ohio State.
Okay.
Also, there's always the smoke about Naheem Alford. Oregon, Alabama. He was here, and It sounds like his dad was on Twitter going back and forth with people talking smack about OG Walt.
Yeah.
And Berm just came out and said there's not a single person who spent any time with Alford who believes he or his family is legitimately on the fence about his recruitment. While the recruiting game has been fun to play a little bit, it'd be a major surprise if there were any fireworks in his prospects anytime soon.
Yeah.
So lots of positive notes coming out.
Listen, anytime you can get OG Walt to pose in a picture with a shiesty mask on, then that lets me know, listen, this dude's doing whatever it takes to get you here. And so, Coach Walt is in his 50s. He doesn't need to be doing that.
No.
He's doing whatever it takes, man, to get you here. So,
I love that dude. I mean, have you got to spend much time with him or talk to him at anything yet?
So last year when we went down to spring practice, I took my dad down there. I got a chance to have a conversation with him and Coach Eliano. He's super laid back guy, very, very chill, very relationship driven. He coaches hard, man, and he is the way that you see the videos of him doing the raps or the spoken word and things like that. That's how he is on the field too. It's a very genuine thing. It's not fake. The way that he talks to kids, the way that, he is understanding of lingo and different things like that are, the kids are maybe into now. That is him. And it's very authentic. And I love watching him coach because he's nonstop. I mean, he does not stop coaching. He finds something small every single day to coach them up on. And so, He's the real deal, and so I'm excited that he decided to come back to Ohio State, and it's paying off very well for us. Well, I got a question for you. I've read about this. I saw some things online about it too. Do you give Coach Fry any what's the word I'm looking for? Since we got Carter Lowe, do you give him any credit for snagging somebody like Carter Lowe in the state of Ohio, or do you think that's just a given because we're in Ohio?
I don't think anything's given anymore. Like,
Yeah.
Do I need to see more? Yeah, but you still brought in Carter Lowe. Jake Cook's a 4-star. There's some other guys out there that you're still in play for. That check boxes. Yes, you want the David Sanders, and he has not. At this point, yes, Coach Fry has not been able to give us that big tackle.
Yeah.
But we have still been okay.
Yeah.
I think this O-line class is going to be interesting. I think the kid that just committed to Missouri, I cannot think of his name, but Berm has came out and said that recruitment's not over.
Yeah.
If you find a way to swing that kid, that's a win.
Yeah.
Because you look at some of the Ohio kids in the past, I was never a fan of the kid. I thought he was overrated, but Jackson Carman. If Ohio State keeps Jackson Carman in state, that's a win.
That is huge.
Everybody knew he didn't want to be here.
Yeah.
Liam Eichenberg.
Yeah.
There was that whole run of 2 or 3 years in a row where St. Ignatius just had dogs.
Yeah.
And none of them ended up at Ohio State on the O-line.
Yeah.
I'll give him credit for getting Carter Lowe. I mean, do I think you get Carter Lowe, you lose David Sanders, you consider this class a win? Probably not, because you also just lost Micah DeBose.
Yeah.
Who verbaled to Bama.
Yeah.
But it is so hard because so many of your high-ranked O-linemen are from the South.
Yeah.
Pulling kids out of the South
it's tough.
I go back to Marvin Wilson, for example. That's a name a lot of people probably don't realize. This kid, everybody thought he was going to end up at Ohio State, goes on his visit to Florida State. And you know what the kid talked about after the visit? Honey fried chicken.
Yeah.
The food is different in the South.
Yeah.
It's just a different world.
Yeah.
I love the South. I took a trip to New Orleans. This has been 10 years ago. As soon as we hit the Kentucky line, it's we're listening to nothing but dirty South hip hop for the rest of the trip. So it just is different. So I'll give him a win for Carter Lowe. And that's actually a great question to lead us into the 26 chatter.
Yeah.
Because he has a slam dunk next year.
Yeah.
Maxwell Riley.
Yeah.
Avon Lake, 6'5", 260 as a junior. I mean, that's what you want is that big. But again, the Cleveland area gets a little weird. So I will give him credit. Just like Carter Lowe being from Toledo.
That's really weird.
Toledo is Michigan, Notre Dame, Ohio State country. I mean, so we'll give him credit for it.
Okay. I was just thinking about that because Berm and some of the other guys were talking about, where Ohio State recruiting goes on the offensive line if we don't get David Sanders. And, I agree with you, and I am on the same side as a lot of guys like Berm. It's, kidding kids, especially in the Toledo area, having been in Northwest Ohio coaching recently, the Michigan connection specifically is a very real thing. I mean, you've got kids that are transferring schools from a Detroit school to Toledo Central Catholic and other schools in the area, and it's not that far of a transfer. You know what I mean? And so getting those kids to stay committed or stay in Ohio is a very big deal. And so, obviously we want to see a little bit more out of Coach Fry, but I hate, because I saw the way he recruited Luke, and I know that he goes all out for these guys, and I know that he was doing whatever it took to get Luke there. And so, like, you kind of root for him because you saw it on a personal level. And I do get it. I do get it. He's got to pull some of these big fish in that are from outside of the state of Ohio. And I think he's done a good job to put us in a decent position with, David Sanders. I also think Coach Day is really helping out with that as well. He's definitely, because he's the CEO, he's definitely playing a big part in the recruitment of guys like that as well. So I was wondering that. I thought that was a very interesting question that I heard this week, and so I wanted to get your opinion. That was a good one.
Well, and I also think that, like we talked about how we're not going to throw J.J. Smith money at these receivers this year. That's because we're throwing J.J. Smith money at David Sanders.
Yeah.
That's a kid who there's talk that he wants to be a doctor.
Yeah.
What better way than to come to Ohio State, get your NIL money, arguably go to the league. Like, it's been proven you can play at a massive school and you go be a doctor. Look at Myron Roll. That dude's out there trying to change the world. With the Florida State, on the basketball level, Aaron Kraft.
Yeah.
Played ball, went overseas, played ball professionally, a doctor. You've got Greg Belisari, played at Ohio State, one of the best orthopedics in Columbus. Is it Chad Cashew? I think is a dentist in Columbus. Yeah. I mean, it can be done.
Yeah.
You look at a guy like Nick Petit-Friere. I don't think he wanted to do medicine, but that's a kid that is super, super intelligent.
Yeah.
So when he's done in the league, he's going to go do something. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I think we may get a David Sanders answer sooner than later.
Hope so.
He's had his visits. Seems like him and the Armstrong twins are very, very close. Devin Sanchez was posting stuff on his IG story with Sanders, talking about closing the deal. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, until which this was Berm's anniversary weekend, I guess, so he's been pretty much off the grid.
Yeah.
So we'll get a new talking stuff probably tomorrow. Last time Berm had David Sanders in by the 4th of July.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. We've talked a lot about how we don't talk about 26s. But with the slowdown in 25 stuff, just a couple caveats on the 26 class. When we talked about Ohio being loaded, this is just a quick glance. Albert Hill, number 1 corner in the country.
Stud.
Archbishop Akron-Hoban, 100% crystal ball to Ohio State. Maxwell Riley, number 9 tackle in the country, 100% crystal ball Ohio State. This is me going down to 24/7 composite, by the way.
Yeah.
Number 3, Sincere Johnson, Cleveland Glenville. Ohio State wants him. I'm going to assume we know where he's going to end up at. Number 10 linebacker in the country.
Yep.
Sam Greer, Archbishop Hoban, number 11 tackle in the country, 6'8", 290.
Yeah, he's a massive human being.
Shane Austin, Painesville, number 11 running back in the country. And then you talked about Central Catholic, Victor Singleton.
Stud.
Number
Absolute
10 corner
stud
in the country. Then you get into Jacob Witherspoon from Avon. Adam Guthrie from Miami Trace, another tackle, 6'7", 285. Cam Thomas, Lakota West, Peyton Cook from Hoban. I mean, Hoban is loaded.
It's sickening almost.
Then you get down into like Will Conroy, Thane Ignatius, an interior offensive lineman, 100% crystal ball to Ohio State. He is the 26th ranked interior lineman in the country. So just like that, though, being a St. Ignatius kid, being that highly ranked, that's a win.
Yeah.
You know, and for whatever reason, you know, we saw it with St. Ignatius, with Eichenberg, and Kramer was another one of them. And then you saw it out of Cincinnati for a while. The Catholic school kids have an affinity for Notre Dame.
Yep.
It's a natural fit. So we'll see. Another little 26, and this is actually what made me want to talk about the 26s real quick. Quarterbacks in 26 are flying off the board. OSU in 26 for a quarterback is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
With TSC coming in, you know, it'll be interesting. But just a real quick hitter on the 26 quarterbacks. You know, we talked about Diabell a couple weeks ago and how we thought that might be the guy. It's not. So right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 of the top 11 quarterbacks in the 26 class are already verbal.
That's insane.
Jared Curtis, number 3 to Georgia. Diabell, number 4 to Texas. Number 5, Brady Smidgel to FSU. Number 7, this one's interesting. Number 7, Landon Duckworth, South Carolina.
Yeah.
Number 9, Brady Hart, Michigan. Which that my man is embracing the villain role.
Yeah.
Number 10, Will Griffin to Florida. Number 11, Noah Grubbs to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So, obviously, I don't think OSU needs to swing massive that year because you're going to have Julian Sagan. You're going to have potentially Aaron Nolan still. One of those two will be here.
Yeah.
You're going to have TSC. And you may still have Lincoln Kimmels.
Yeah.
Where I am intrigued to see if OSU goes. He's ranked number 12 in the nation, and that's Troy Hune.
Yeah.
I think it's Hune. You read his profile, and this is a massive comparison. I'm only saying it because we're Ohio State fans. There are CJ Stroud vibes all over that profile.
Yeah. His film is good, man. He's a pretty legit quarterback. I'll just say that.
So we'll see. I mean, like I said, you know, we don't dive too far into the 26s, and for good reason, because it's still a half cycle away. And our friends at the NCAA are not going to approve the June signing period. It doesn't sound like.
No.
I wish I could say I was surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, another kid in that class at quarterback is Ashland, Ohio. Nathan Bernhard.
Yes.
He's a really good sized kid. You know, it's listed at 6'5", 227. I know that he's camped at Ohio State. He's been to Ohio State a ton of times. Right now he's a 3-star. I think that will go up. He runs in an offense that is tailored to him and his skill set. And so that's another kid in the quarterback class to keep an eye on. Again, somebody right here in our backyard. And so again, it's another situation where we're gonna trust Coach Kelly and Coach Day to go get whoever they feel is best. But the 26 class, man, it's different. And it's crazy how fast the 26 quarterbacks are coming off the board.
The Ashland kid's been starting since he was a freshman too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, and they play in a decent conference. I mean, it's kind of a roller coaster, but there's some worst case scenario. There's some hard hitting football played in that conference.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that'll be interesting to see. You know, I guess, you know, to kind of wrap up, you know, 25 and 26 recruiting stuff, you know, if there's one wish that you have in the next, you know, let's say 2 weeks, let's use the 4th of July as our date. Yeah. Outside of David Sanders, what would you like to see?
I would like to see Dorian Brew be locked into Ohio State. I think I love the fact that we are hammering home the BIA message and we're trying to make sure that back end is elite. I think it's such a pivotal position. You know, he's got that versatility. So I would like to see him be locked into the class. The other person, and I will just say this because, you know me, I'm going to ride for the guys that are in Central Ohio specifically. I want to see. Well, I guess Pickerington's not Central Ohio, but you know what I mean. I would like to see Preston Bowman in this class. I don't think it happens by July 4th. I think it happens later, but I would like to see that kid in this class because I know, just like we talked about with Jake Cook, he's gone to camp. He's worked hard for that offer. He's gotten it now, and so I would love to see somebody like that end up with in this class because Ohio high school football. I think it's often overlooked because we don't have spring ball, and so anytime we can lock these guys in and showcase them to the world, I want to get them in here. So those would be on my wish list for sure.
I like it. Yeah, there was a picture of Brew, Sanchez, and Offord, and somebody, I think it was on the 11 Warriors message board. It was they were all wearing jerseys. They're like, the only thing that would make this photo better is if they were wearing 614.
Yeah, that would be
is
sweet.
Genius.
That would be sweet. That would be sweet.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. Should be a fun couple weeks though. As far as on the national scale that we've been trying to hit on a little bit, we were both vastly wrong on the NBA Finals.
So wrong.
The Celtics, they're like, we're here.
Oh my gosh, we're so wrong.
That was ugly, man. Like, least interesting NBA Finals ever.
I
didn't watch a complete game.
I watched one half of one game, and
Yeah.
it was not. It was I was done.
I'm like, this is brutal.
Yeah.
On the flip side, the Stanley Cup Finals go to Game 7 tomorrow. Not a massive hockey fan at all.
Yeah.
But I will almost always watch a Game 7 no matter what sport.
Yeah.
And the fact that the Oilers were down 3-0 and have won 3 in a row to force Game 7.
That's crazy.
I don't care what sport. And we get the College World Series Finals tomorrow, Game 3.
Yep.
Be interesting to see, Tennessee, which for a Buckeye reference, Craig Krenzel's son will be there in the fall playing baseball.
Okay.
And he's a dog on the mound.
Okay.
He is a dog. Dublin kid plays for he's at Scioto. So
Okay.
he is playing for former Elgin High School coach Drew Kirby, who,
All right.
as far as coaches go, is a dog. Drew's intense. So that'll be interesting to see. Our boy LeBron and the Lakers finally have a coach.
Yeah.
Much to the surprise of nobody. JJ Redick after they got shot down by Hurley, but
I'm a LeBron fan. Everybody knows that, and so like I always root for the Cavs no matter what. But I always would like to see LeBron win as well. And so I was paying attention to who they were bringing in, and I thought somebody like Hurley would have been really good for that group because he is just a very respected person in the basketball world, and he doesn't play around. And I think that would work well with that roster. JJ Redick, I'm a big JJ Redick fan. I grew up disliking Duke, but he was one of the only guys at Duke that I actually liked, and I know that's contrary to what a lot of other people felt. A lot of other people hated him. I thought he was really good. And so, his podcast that he's got with LeBron, it's been really interesting. I love watching. I love learning about, plays, X's and O's and other sports because I think it's so interesting. And so to hear the back and forth between two elite minds is pretty cool. We'll see. Eric Spoelstra was successful, and he was a team manager for the Heat, and eventually became one of the best coaches in the NBA. So you just never know. If he can get the best out of AD, great. If he can get the best out of LeBron, great. If he can get the best out of D'Lo and the rest of the roster, phenomenal. So we'll see. If he doesn't do it in 2 years, he'll be fired, and that will be that. And maybe LeBron will ride off into the sunset and come back to Cleveland for one more year.
It just blows my mind how scrutinized that hire has been. Like,
oh yeah,
especially for a professional sport. I understand college fans like scrutinizing everything, but it is wild how scrutinized that has been.
I get it, man. As a coach, as somebody who is seen jobs go to people that you didn't believe, may have been qualified. I know there was a lot of questions about me when I got hired as a head coach. Does he have the experience? He got the job over people who had more experience. I get that argument. This dude has no coaching experience. And so for him to come in and be ready to coach these elite level players, yeah, I think there's a lot to question there. But the one thing I don't think you can question is his basketball IQ. That was something that he was always known for. But you feel, as a coach, I feel bad for a lot of those assistants who have been putting in the work and busting their butts for decades or, however long to become an NBA head coach. And this guy, was a great NBA analyst, has a podcast with LeBron, and now he's the head coach. And so I totally get that. I do. But we'll see how it goes, man.
For sure. The only other thing on the national scale, we are getting close to the Olympics.
Yes.
We always give props to the GOATs. Katie Ledecky out here winning races by 20 seconds.
Dude, that was the video clip of that was insane.
I don't even know what to say about that. And then, the downside to the Olympics this year, because we've made no bones about it, that, we are fully supporting the WNBA this year. I've made, we're Cameron Brink fans.
Yeah.
And, tore out the ACL. So, and she was supposed to be on the Olympic 3x3 squad.
Yeah.
So I guess HBL is just going to have to steal the show and
it's going to have to.
Ankles. So we'll see there. And since our boy BP always tells us we never talk baseball, the guards just swept the Toronto Blue Jays. There you go, BP.
Yeah. There we go. And after that, Shaq, DJ Diesel, had a little bit of a concert at the Guardian Stadium, and it was phenomenal. Like, I watched a little bit of it online. It was like, what is Shaq doing here in Cleveland? It was great, man. So
he's just trying to put on half the show that Kendrick did, or yeah. Was that Kendrick this week?
Yeah. It was Ken and Friend. It was fantastic. I won't get into it because I can talk about it forever.
I gotta watch it though.
It was good.
So that ties up the sports world. So I know you've been excited for Coach Talk this week.
Yeah.
You're gonna dive into some Chip Kelly stuff. And with the weapons we've got this year, I am excited to hear this.
Yeah. And so, all right. So I'll make no bones about it. I won't argue this at all. I'm a defensive guy through and through. And so as a defensive guy, you always want the offense to run the ball. Like that's one of the things that you always want. If we get a lead, run the ball. All right. Or score as much as you can. And then once we're up by 3+ touchdowns, run the ball so the clock keeps running. We go ahead and get out of here. Chip Kelly's going to run the ball. All right. He is going to run the ball.
And he's going to run down your throat.
We've talked about it a few weeks ago on here. If you want a good idea of what the Chip Kelly offense will look like, I think going back to 2021 and 2022 when Dorian Thompson-Robinson, is that his name? DTR, yeah.
Yeah.
When DTR was there as a quarterback, DTR was a very prolific quarterback within the Chip Kelly scheme. Didn't win a ton of games, but he had great stats, ran the offense at a very high level. They had Zach Charbonnet in the backfield, and so they were able to do a lot of things with that duo in the backfield. Last year, they did not have the greatest quarterback play. They had 4 different guys end up playing quarterback. One of those guys was Dante Moore, who is now at Oregon as the backup to Dylan Gabriel, which is probably what's best for him. He needed some more time to develop. They had another guy. What was his name? I just forgot his name. But they had another guy who just went to the portal. He's at Virginia Tech now. And then they had a quarterback with the last name Gabers who played, I think, 11 games. None of them completed over 60% of their passes. They weren't extremely efficient. And so the quarterback play was up and down last year. But somehow the team still managed to win 8 football games. And so They were coming off a year where they didn't have, the greatest offensive line, but Chip Kelly was able to make it work. The one thing that I loved about their offense last year, and I'll just talk about it real briefly before we start watching a little bit of film. Last year, they had 2 rushers rush for over 800 yards. And so that is something that is extremely relevant to the Buckeye offense right now, because we have a 2-headed monster in Travion Henderson and Quinshawn Judkins. And so last year they had UCLA had Carson Steele. He was their starting running back, 167 carries, 847 yards, 6 total touchdowns, 5.1 yards per carry. All right. Anytime you get a running back averaging over 5 yards a carry, that is awesome. Their other guy, their second, the I guess what you would consider the backup, was TJ Harden. He rushed had 156 carries, 827 yards rushing, 8 touchdowns, and 5.3 yards per carry. And so you're talking about between the 2 guys, you had over 300 carries divvied up between 2 guys, and they combined to have over 1,600 yards rushing and 14 touchdowns. Fast forward to what they're going to have this year at Ohio State with Travion and Quinshawn. It's a very real possibility that you have 2 guys who could get over 1,000 yards, or you have a 1,000-yard rusher and a 700 to 800-yard rusher. Those are very real possibilities, and you'll see in the few clips that we're going to watch from the USC game that they're going to find different ways to get the ball into the hands of their running backs. And so I will get this pulled up. We've got some clips from when they played UCLA last year. Their starting running back, I believe I had the stats pulled up. I'll get them pulled back up in a second. But it was like 22 carries, 142 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns, or something like that. He had a very good game, but they found a way to get the ball moving on offense. Was USC's defense the best? No. All right, but UCLA's offense was not the best as well. And so this is the clips from the first drive. Make sure it's pulled up. All right, so this is from last year, first drive against USC. Okay. The one thing that you're going to see in a Chip Kelly offense is you're going to see a lot more motioning to give some eye candy to the defense. As a defensive coach, what you don't want to see, your linebackers, your secondary, your defensive line, whatever, you don't want to see their eyes get fixated on the people in motion. So the more pre-snap motion that you get, the more discipline that you need your defense to be. And so you're going to see Chip Kelly utilize a lot more motioning next year and to get the guys on the move. Okay. Now, the one thing I love about this play right here, it's set up, and you'll see in a couple plays, it's a very similar setup. It's a play action. They typically would have this guy go work to kick out this defensive end, but instead of going to block him, he slips out easy into the flat. All right. And these are the easy access throws that they're going to try to get, who I think will be the starting quarterback, Will Howard. They're going to try to get him those easy throws that will be efficient. The one thing, the knock on Will Howard, well, he doesn't have the best arm strength or the best downfield accuracy. In a Chip Kelly offense, you don't need to always press it downfield. You will be able to throw these underneath stuff and still be able to be efficient, especially when you add the quarterback run game. But again, that is one of their running backs, and so that's another way that you would be able to get the ball into Travion Henderson's hand. I love the idea of having both Quinshawn and Travion on the field at the same time. If this is Quinshawn and this is Travion, this is just, we know how Travion is. This is something he can do. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. And if he catches this, it could be a touchdown. We know how explosive he is as a player. So I want you guys to start wrapping your head around the idea of having these 2 guys in the backfield at the same time. Okay. Next clip we have here. All right, just a trips formation, another play action, trying to give their quarterbacks easy throws. The quarterback does a really good job here stepping up into the pocket. All right. Why am I showing this clip? I'm showing this clip because I think with a Will Howard, with a Devin Brown, you're going to see our quarterbacks, if it's not there, if they get moved off to their spot, I'm gone. I'm going to go take what they give me. All right. Just imagine how good our offense, how much better our offense would have been 2 years ago had CJ Stroud done this on a consistent basis. And so these are things that I think we're going to see our quarterbacks do more of this year. All right. Just take them what they give you. And that's what Chip Kelly wants. All right. Take what they give you. Do not stress. Don't be upset. Don't fret. Go get what they give you. All right. Now, this is one of the run plays. This is going to be a staple that we're going to see in a Chip Kelly offense. Again, you're giving the defense more eye candy. Getting this guy to go in motion, it will help you understand if they're playing some sort of man coverage in the back end, but it will also help you try to just create some confusion with these guys in the middle. All right. So we get some more pre-snap motion. All right. This is what we would call a zone wham. All right. That's what we called it at Harding. All right. We're running zone scheme to this way. All right. So they're stepping. We're stepping. We are going to get this guy as what is known as a fold. All right. He's going to fold to try to get this 3 technique. And this guy's going to work to go seal this backside backer. And this guy's going to work to kick this guy out. All right. Now, why do we do that? Because we have a running back who can put his foot in the ground and get vertical. And what I want to show you guys is on this play, if it worked out the way that it's drawn up, it would have been a touchdown. All right. So if we get those zone schemes, we get the fold block, this guy does a great job of cutting off this 3 technique. If this guy does a better job of getting here, all right, and this guy does a better job of kicking out, imagine Travion or Quinshawn being able to put their foot in the ground and get vertical here, okay? If that were to happen, this is out the gate for a touchdown, okay? So this is one of the things that we are going to see a lot of in a Chip Kelly offense, trying to make sure they are being disciplined on defense and really utilizing the athleticism of our offensive linemen, and we need this running back to hit it a little sooner, all right? If this guy does a good job of getting this kick out and we get this lineman to climb up on this backer, this is a touchdown. Okay, opens up right in the middle, doesn't get it, goes out a little wide, but he still manages to find a way to get 4 yards. Okay, so these are the things that we're going to see. All right, next clip I got coming up. We'll skip past this one. I want to show one of the things I'll be very, very excited about when it comes to our offense. Again, another zone concept. All right, this is just inside zone. We're double teaming with the center and the guard up front. We're trying to climb to the linebacker. And the running back, it's his job to find that space. Defense does a good job of making a play right here. This next clip is what I want to show you guys. Okay. What we saw in the spring game from Chip Kelly on the very first play, I know he said it was a nod to Woody Hayes. But when he's saying that, it's a nod to Woody Hayes because this is something that he's always had in his offense. All right. This is something that he does. This 3 backs, when they get into the red zone or short yardage, is a very big deal. So I want us to imagine a scenario where we have a Travion Henderson, a Quinshawn Judkins, a TC Caffey, or a G. Scott if you want a fullback type, or a Patrick Gerd if you want a fullback type. Okay, you're going to have possibly 3 running backs in the backfield that need to be able to block for each other. Okay, why do you do this? Because it allows your offensive line to continue to run the same zone schemes, and these guys are now going to be able to work up to the second level. All right, so that is what you want. The tackle doesn't really do a great job here. It's not a terrible job. Running back could have cut it a little earlier. Okay, but these are the things that you're going to see. The running backs are going to have to be able to block. This next play, they actually scored a touchdown here, and it's a pretty good clip. All right, we're back into the red zone on the 1 yard line. All right, I want us to see how these guys are leading up and through. Okay, they're leading up and through. They're getting a hat on a hat. All right, finding a way to get in the end zone. This is a way for us to improve our red zone offense. And then the offensive line doesn't do a fantastic job here. They just do enough, okay? This guy does a great job of getting that sealed. Oh, God, that is awesome by that guard. That is pretty freaking good. That's a good chip by the tackle, climbing up to the next level. This guard does a good job of sealing that free technique, and they get up in there. All right. Those are one of the things that we're going to see this year from a Chip Kelly offense. And I want us to also pay attention to the fact that we had 3 different running backs on that drive alone touch the ball. Okay. That is one drive in one game where 3 running backs touch the ball. That is something that we as Buckeye fans are going to have to get used to, because we are going to utilize all the running backs we have on our roster. All right. They will be used. And so that is just a small glimpse. One of these days, we'll do a really deep dive into the offense. I'm going to try to get some people on here to really help us out. Some local coaches have really studied this stuff as well. So we're going to try to get them on there as well. But that's just a quick glimpse as to what we're going to see. When we watch these clips, try to envision getting, Ohio State type talent in that picture. All right. Ohio State is night and day difference between UCLA. And so when we have that talent in the backfield, we have the athleticism and what we have coming back on the offensive line, and we have a quarterback like a Will Howard and a Devin Brown, I think you could see this offense really explode and go to that next level.
Yeah, I mean, and you could look and see, like, their offensive line play was not very good. Like, I always look at zone as, like, you're essentially trying to eliminate half of the defense.
Absolutely.
And they were not executing super well. So that's going to be awesome to see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
Everything at Oregon, was tempo. And now obviously Ryan Day has shown he'll go hyper too when he has to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited to see it. And, that's just the run side of it. But that's where we've kind of struggled over,
absolutely,
the last 3, like the play. And, one thing you didn't even hit on, there's an option element to so many of those plays that,
absolutely,
do I think, obviously there's going to be a time you run that option, especially if the read is there. If you fake somebody out their boots and you've got the mismatch with numbers, and that's something else I was going to ask you as a defensive guy, with the full house backfield.
Yeah.
That's essentially taking a hit away from your quarterback, but still playing the numbers game. Because if you execute it right, you've got more hats on the side of the ball you're running, right?
Yeah. And the tough part about it is too, like as a defensive coach, you've always got to think about the coverage as well that you're going to marry with it. Against that type of formation, you've got to play some sort of man coverage. I guess you could play some zone, but you would see most coaches play some sort of man coverage to that. And that means the 3 guys in the backfield have to be accounted for. And those are guys that are hard to keep track of. You're asking a running back or a linebacker, to play man coverage on a running back as well as being crucial into the run fit. Well, if I see my running back, if he's the outside guy of that full house of that T backfield, if he leaves the box, I have to leave with him. So now my eyes are off of the guard and I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to be doing. It's a very tough thing to defend. And that's when you have to personnel. You've got to make sure you got the right personnel on the field. And your defensive line really has to do their job, maintain their gaps, penetrate, try to find a way to, get into the backfield and create disruption so that things can be slowed down and so that we as a defense can flow to the ball. And so I hate anything like wing T style, anything of like the full house, the T formation and things like that. Those present some issues for defensive coordinators, and it takes a lot to plan for. And so you're talking about taking a section of practice just to work on defending that formation, and you may only see it 5 or 6 times at most. And so that is just a lot goes into it, more than what you just see on Saturdays.
Yeah, I think that's why, like when OSU would always play the service academies, everybody hated it if it wasn't the first game of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, because you have to spend time prepping for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. Excited to see, what we really do with the weapons that we have for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that kind of wraps everything up this week. You got anything else?
No, man, that is it.
I'm going to give a this week's shout out. It's going to be a late birthday shout out because
All
I
right.
forgot to text him yesterday. So happy birthday belatedly to our guy, John Ratliff,
Yeah.
loyal listener, throws us some awesome feedback, and is a big supporter of us. So happy birthday, Rat. I hope it was a good weekend.
Yeah, and also listeners, make sure that you guys are liking, subscribing, sharing, all of that stuff. We haven't really made a push for that, but we're getting to the point now where we think, we're pumping out some pretty good information. And so we just want to get it out there a little bit more. So make sure you guys are sharing our stuff. And we would greatly appreciate the love.
Yeah, absolutely. And we may have a pretty cool giveaway coming in August.
Yeah.
If you notice, I haven't thrown much shade at Miami in the last couple of weeks. Our resident Hurricane fan, Brandon, has offered up something pretty stinking cool.
Okay.
So I got to talk to him and see if it's still on the table, work out some details. But yeah, stay tuned. But with that said, we will see you guys next week, and hopefully we have multiple booms to talk about.
Yep.
See ya.